Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving my MLB picks for Thursday, May 17th. We got 9 games tonight on the main slate. Actually, kind of a big slate for a Thursday. Definitely have some pitchers on the slate that are expensive. Not sure if we really want to pay this price tag for them, but Cole Hamels, $10,800. We got Tyler Skaggs, $10,400. David Price is in a decent matchup with the Orioles. He's $8,400. Got Chad Kuhl, Luke Weaver, Kevin Gausman. Just a few pitchers to name on this slate. Definitely some pitchers to talk about we will get into. Before we do get into pitchers and bats for today, like always, guys, make sure you drop a like on the video. Really means a lot. I really appreciate it. And if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do click that subscribe button down below, so that way you won't miss out on any of my new uploads. But yeah, pitcher today, looking at the two options over 10K, we have Cole Hamels and Tyler Skaggs. Cole Hamels gets a matchup with the White Sox. I'm not really going to be on Cole Hamels today. I just don't like that price tag. I feel like Cole Hamels is not really a $10,000+ pitcher, especially with this matchup with the White Sox. The White Sox do have decent hitters versus righties. Davidson, Abreu, Castillo, Tim Anderson, or not versus righties, versus lefties. Abreu, Davidson, Castillo, Anderson. Moncada hasn't been good versus lefties, but still improving hitter, and a guy that doesn't really strike out as much as he used to. Yolmer Sanchez has been good this year. Even towards the bottom of that lineup, you got strikeouts there, but dudes that are good that are decent versus lefties, Trace Thompson, decent versus lefties, same with Engel. And I'm just not really on Hamels here. I don't know how much upside he has. I feel like Tyler Skaggs might have more upside, just to be honest. He gets a matchup with the Rays, and I really like this matchup for Tyler Skaggs. He's going to be pitching at home in LA, a good pitcher's park. I think Tyler Skaggs is my favorite pitcher to pay up for on this slate. I just feel like the upside's there in this matchup. I think he can definitely get 25 to 30 DraftKings points here. This Rays team just strikes out a ton. There are a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. They have a lot of lefties in their lineup as well. Guys like Span, Wendell, Brad Miller, Malik Smith. These guys have very high K rates versus lefties. Their K rates are increased. And even guys like Crone and Ramos are good versus lefties, but still will strike out. I just think this is a great spot for Tyler Skaggs. I think he has a ton of upside here. Good pitcher's park. I definitely prefer him over Cole Hamels, and I would say he's my favorite pitcher to pay up for on the slate. 10,400. And I usually don't take two pitchers from the same game, but with Chris Archer being 6,900 today, I know he hasn't looked good this year, but I just really can't pass up on this price. I think Chris Archer is a good SP2 option today. I just feel like this guy has too much upside to be 6,900. Like I said, he hasn't been good this year. He's actually been pretty mediocre. 13, 13, 20, -7, 18, 14, 17, 22, and 5 DraftKings points throughout all the games that he's pitched this year. Not saying that this is like a bounce-back spot for Chris Archer or a game where he's going to get right, but getting a guy at 6,900 that has the kind of upside that Archer has. Obviously, this matchup with the Angels is not ideal. They're not a team that has a ton of strikeouts in their lineup, but still are some Ks here with Cole Calhoun, Maldonado. Even Justin Upton has an increased K rate versus righties. I think Archer can put up a solid game here. I know it was like 2 or 3 years ago, he had like one of his best games ever against the Angels. I think he had like a career high in strikeouts versus the Angels. Obviously, that was a couple years ago, not the same team, but still Archer has great stuff. He's got a great slider that can get strikeouts. I just really like him here, especially with that price tag of 6,900. So I'm kind of looking at that game for my pitchers. I think it could be a low-scoring game, kind of a pitcher's duel. Just getting a lot of upside here from both options. But if we do want to talk about some of the other pitchers on this slate, Chad Kuhl, I like this matchup with the Padres. Chad Kuhl is 8,200 though, and I'm not sure I really want to pay that price tag for Kuhl. Not sure how much upside he has, especially at that price. Could he get 25 DraftKings points? Sure, but 8,200, 25 really isn't getting the job done. I think Archer could get close to 30 here, if not exceed that amount. Archer might be risky, but the dude just has so much upside at this price tag. I think he is a great tournament play today. Maybe a guy like Luke Weaver you could go to versus the Phillies, but they've been hitting the ball really well lately. And Luke Weaver has really struggled, and we're not getting him cheap either. He's 8K, which is kind of expensive for a guy that hasn't looked great this year. Guys like Kuhl and Weaver, just not sure if I really want to pay that price tag for them, even though some of their matchups, especially Kuhl's versus the Padres, is a good matchup there. Gausman against the Red Sox, I'm not going to. John Lester's cheap, 7,700, but against the Braves, a team that's just been so good this year, doesn't strike out. I don't really want to go to John Lester. Chad Bettis could maybe be an interesting option here versus the Giants. Great ballpark, great park upgrade for the Rockies, at least pitching-wise. For the pitchers, this is a good boost going to San Francisco, getting out of Coors Field. Great pitcher's park here, but Chad Bettis is another guy that just doesn't have a ton of upside. You look at his strikeouts this year, the most strikeouts he's gotten in one game is 5. Obviously, this is a decent matchup. The Giants have struck out a lot this year, do have an increased K rate versus righties, but Chad Bettis just isn't a strikeout pitcher, and I'm not really sure how much upside he has. If you wanted to go to him in cash games because he's cheap and he's got a good matchup, guess you could go there. Same with kind of Jeff Samardzija, another guy that hasn't been good this year but is cheap. Getting to face the Rockies out of Coors Field. Great ballpark here in San Francisco. Maybe you could consider Samardzija at 7K versus the Rockies out of Coors, but like I said, Samardzija has also not been good this year, and I'm not sure if we're really going to see Samardzija just like bounce back. I don't think he's going to be really the same pitcher that he was. I know I did roster Samardzija a lot last year. I think I've only rostered him once this year, and that was against the Padres. Not really on Samardzija tonight, even at 7K, even though he's cheap. And guys like Andrew Triggs, Soroka, probably not going to. Marco Gonzalez could maybe be a cheap option at 6,600. He has been improving lately. Look at the game log. Last 4 games, he does have 3 games with 29, 17, and 13 DraftKings points. Pretty decent outings there. 2 of those matchups were tough, too, against Cleveland and LA. He did just face this Detroit team in his last start and got rocked. Gave up 10 hits, 4 runs through 6 innings. This could be a bounce-back spot for Marco Gonzalez. He's getting some respect from Vegas here. The Tigers only have an implied run total of 3.8 runs. Maybe you go to Marco Gonzalez as a cheap SP2, but I do think Chris Archer has more upside there, right around that same price. Aaron Sanchez not going to be on versus Oakland. James Shields, no thanks, and Aaron Lauer, not a guy I'm going to roster either. So pitcher for me today, if I'm paying up, Tyler Skaggs is definitely my favorite option. And then SP2s, I think Chad Kuhl could be a play at 8,200. Not really sure I want to pay that price for him, but versus the Padres, you could go to Chad Kuhl here. Obviously, I love Archer as an upside play at 6,900 with that price. Chad Bettis in cash games, if you want a cheap option that could get you 15 to 20, I think that could be Bettis or Samardzija, but I actually think I would rather play Bettis over Samardzija in that game. And then another cheap option you could go to is Marco Gonzalez, 6,600, but like I said, Archer is my favorite cheap play if I'm going down to that 6-7K range. So yeah, that's it for pitcher today. Now if we do want to talk about some hitters, going with Archer as a cheap SP2 did allow us some salary to pay up for bats. But my first bat is not going to be an expensive play, going to actually be a value option. I like Justin Smoke at first base today. At 3,600, I think Smoke is a good value play here. In a matchup with Andrew Triggs, I do like the Blue Jays today. They have a high implied run total on this slate. They have a ton of value in their lineup. Only one hitter in that lineup is over 4K, and that is Josh Donaldson, who is 4,200. Mark out Donaldson. You got some great value here with Granderson, Justin Smoke, obviously Hernandez, Solarte. I think you can get some great value from this Blue Jays team, especially with Smoke. He's been crushing the ball lately. Look at the DraftKings game log. Last 4 games, 16, 15, 7, 27 DraftKings points. We obviously know Justin Smoke has a lot of power from his left side. Going up against a right-handed pitcher, he'll be batting from his left. Triggs will give up home runs, and I just don't think he's that good of a pitcher. So I like Justin Smoke here as a cheap first baseman. I think he makes a lot of sense. 3,600. And then my next 2 plays are both going to be in the outfield. Definitely looking to pay up here with Mookie Betts at 5,800. I think this is a great spot for Mookie Betts. In a matchup with Kevin Gausman that he has had a ton of success in the past, Mookie has some great BVP versus Gausman. It's a pretty big sample as well. He's 12 for 29 with 3 home runs, has a 4.14 average through 29 at-bats versus Gausman. Obviously, I'm not playing Mookie just because of the BVP, but I really don't need a reason to play Mookie. The dude's just been so good this year. Just look at the game log. He's got double digits, and it looks like 6 of his last 10 games, if I just counted that quickly. Obviously, Mookie just has so much upside. He's a great hitter, has power. If he gets on base, he'll steal bases. Pretty much a lock to get you fantasy points. There's no more consistent player in the league right now than Mookie Betts, and he's had a ton of success in this matchup with Gausman, so I think he's a great play. Going with Archer as a cheap SP2 allows us to fit him in. Going with Smoke as a cheap value play allows us to fit him in. So Mookie Betts, if you can find the value at hitter or pitcher, and you can pay up for Mookie, I think he is worth the price tag today. And then my final play, going to be sort of a cheaper option. Not that cheap, but Joey Gallo, I feel like might be a little bit too cheap for his matchup with James Shields. Great matchup here. We know James Shields is not a good pitcher. This guy will get rocked pretty much every time he steps on the mound. He gives up a ton of home runs. I think the Rangers are probably my top stack on this slate, especially when you factor in their price tags. These guys are dirt cheap, pretty much from top to bottom. Besides Mazzara and Gallo, everyone in this lineup is under 4K. Sin-Soo Choo, I think, is a great value play today at 3,600. Same with Profar. If you're looking for a cheap shortstop, he's only 3,300. These guys are just too cheap for this matchup. James Shields is a bad pitcher. He gives up home runs, and just not a pitcher that has a ton of great stuff. Won't really get strikeouts. We obviously know Gallo will strike out a lot, but going up against a pitcher that won't really get any strikeouts, I think Gallo's a great play today. The dude has so much power versus a pitcher that gives up a ton of home runs. Gallo just makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. So these are my 5 plays for today, guys. Tyler Skaggs, Chris Archer, Justin Smoak, Mookie Betts, and Joey Gallo. Now, if we do want to look at stacks for today, some of the teams that have the highest implied run totals on this slate. Right now, looking at run totals, I think the Red Sox lead the slate at 5.1 runs versus Kevin Gausman. And then the Blue Jays are right behind at 5 runs versus Andrew Triggs. Pirates also have a 4.9 implied run total versus Eric Lauer. But none of those teams are probably my favorite stack. Like I said, my favorite stack on this slate is the Rangers versus James Shields, especially because of these price tags. I do like the Blue Jays, though. I think they are definitely in play here versus Triggs. They're also very cheap. Besides Donaldson, a ton of value in the Blue Jays lineup. So I do like the Blue Jays, but number 1 by far, the Rangers versus James Shields, going to have a ton of exposure to that team today. And then looking at BVP plays on this slate, actually do have a kind of a lot of BVP plays for it to be 9 games. A lot of BVP plays with sample as well. A couple of these Orioles have hit David Price well. Manny Machado 11 for 37 with 4 home runs. Danny Valencia 13 for 22, 591 average. He's really seen David Price well. Obviously, I mentioned Mookie's BVP earlier versus Gausman, 12 for 29 with 3 home runs. Marcell Ozuna only has 3 hits through 12 at-bats versus Velasquez, but one of those hits was a home run. Big sample size here. Jose Bautista, seen John Lester 61 times, has 14 hits through 61 at-bats. 5 of those 14 hits were home runs. Freddie Freeman has also hit Lester well, 6 for 20 with 2 home runs. Only guy that's hit Chris Archer well with at least a 10 at-bat sample is Albert Pujols. He's got 6 hits through 15 at-bats and a home run. A lot of these Rockies have hit Samardzija well. That's probably because of the Coors Field effect, but Arenado 12 for 29 versus Samardzija. Charlie Blackmon's 9 for 30 with the home run. Ian Desmond 10 for 24 with 2 home runs versus Samardzija. Gerardo Parra 12 for 30 with 2 home runs, a 400 average. And then lastly, Chad Bettis has struggled against Brandon Belt. Belt has hit Bettis for a 438 average through 16 at-bats, has 7 hits in those 16 at-bats. And then looking at some pitchers that have done well in their matchups, the Red Sox have struggled to hit Kevin Gausman. Gausman has only allowed a 222 average to the Red Sox, or the Red Sox have only hit Gausman for a 222 average. But I don't think that's going to keep me off of some of the Red Sox bats. I still do like them here, especially just because of how good that team is, how good their lineup is. And then Chris Archer has done well against the Angels. Like to see that. The Angels are only hitting Archer for a 204 average through 103 at-bats. They only have 1 home run and 103 at-bats. Really like to see that. And then lastly, Jeff Samardzija. He's done poorly against the Rockies. The Rockies have hit Samardzija for a 321 average. They have 62 hits through 193 at-bats, 8 home runs in those 62 hits. Obviously, some of that's in Coors Field, but Samardzija, not sure really how much I want to go to him. I think Bettis is a little bit of a better play there in that same game. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for BVP and PVB on this slate, and I think that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Hopefully it helped you. If you did enjoy, just make sure you click that like button down below. If you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do subscribe before you get out of here. And always feel free to hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions at the DFS_GOAT. That's my Twitter account. Just hit me up. Feel free to do so. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Good luck tonight on this slate, guys. Peace.